Jerry Smith has been around Buies Creek since the late 1950s and still is a fixture at Fighting Camel games and in the community. Student, coach, basketball announcer, he's done it all. Smith graduated from Campbell in the mid-1960s and embarked on a decades-long journey in the education and coaching fields, both at his alma mater and in the North Carolina public schools. After retiring, he moved back to Buies Creek, where you can find him around Keith Hills Golf Course and at most Campbell football and basketball games. My name is Stan Cole, class of 1987, and this is our fourth installment of Tales from the Creek, where we visit people who have made this place special over the years. I'm delighted today to be joined by Coach Jerry Smith. Welcome to Tales from the Creek, Coach.
Yes, sir. I'm glad to be here.
Thanks for taking the time to visit with us. Coach, let's start at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your childhood and your upbringing, and where did you grow up, and how did you spend your days?
Okay. I was born in 1942. I had an older brother, 16 months older than I am, and we had a younger brother later on. But my daddy was a farmer to start with, and my mom and me and my older brother and my mom and daddy were there at the farm. Then the third boy came along, my younger brother, the baby. And after that, I think my daddy decided he needed to make more money, so he started driving a trailway bus. He did for the next 30 years.
Wow. Now, this was in Greene County, if I'm correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right. How did you spend your days growing up?
So the farm is right there on 264th. That's where we grew up, a little town called Walstenburg.
Certainly.
And that's a great place, In fact, me and my family moved back there after a while from Washington. We were down in Washington. Great place to live, very good people, well-established churches, and it's just a good place to be.
So
I actually went back to Greene County when I went to Greene Central High School as a principal.
And that's something how the circle
all the way around
is completed.
A lot of good people.
So you grew up, I assume, doing some farm work and playing whatever sport was in season? That your?
I wasn't good enough to play to start with. Sports were a big thing at our house, and back before integration started, the teams weren't quite as good as they are now. We had the best basketball goal in the area, so all the boys gathered on Saturday and Sunday. We played basketball all day long, but it was a lot of fun. And then, when I went to high school, I played high school ball, but not to start with, because when I was a freshman, I wasn't but 4'11". but as it went along, I grew 7 inches in one summer, and from then on in, we played basketball.
You shared with me you attended the Campbell Basketball School as a camper.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about those days and in the late 1950s.
It was something. The basketball camp just had something nothing else had. It attracted me and it pulled me down this way, and I saw things I'd never seen before, and I saw people I'd never seen before, and some of those people were very important people, and you get to learn. I came back every year, and I got to a place that Hoggy Davis knew me, and Fred knew me, and different ones. They speak to call your name. That says a lot. And when I got ready to graduate, I wasn't a real good student, and I called down here to see if I could get in, and they said, "Well, I don't know. You better come down and take some tests." So I came down, and Colonel Turrell, where you remember, he was the head of the recruiting down there. He said, "I tell you what we're going to do. After what we've seen here and heard you talk, we're going to let you in on probation." I said, "Okay, let's go." I never missed a beat. Graduated in 4 years.
Yeah. Outstanding. You shared with me that a very important moment in your life happened early on at Campbell. I believe when you met your wife, Linda.
Yes, it was very important.
Will you share that story with our listeners?
Well, you know how everybody wanted to eat lunch at supper at 5 o'clock. And the girls flooded from that side and the boys flooded from that side. It seemed like she and I always ended up close together. And it led on from there. We started dating a little bit, and then finally ended up getting married and got 3 kids and rock and rolling. It's amazing. I can't complain. Some things I don't like, but I did some things I didn't like. But basically, it's been a good life.
Awesome. Who are some of the people that you came across during your days at Campbell that made a difference in your life?
Well, I always liked the coaches. Now, Fred didn't know my name. He called me Smitty all the time. And he's always full of jokes and stuff. And that's good because it kind of relieves the pressure. Hoggy Davis, I would say, was one of my favorites. And his wife, they lived in that apartment behind Layton Dorm. Well, Layton Dorm's where I stayed. And that relationship was really good because I could talk to him or her and what have you. And I looked right down out my window. There's their apartment sitting there. That and everybody just seemed to be. Colonel Turtle was another one. Everybody just seemed to be looser than they are now. Everything was important, but not as important as it seems to be now. Everybody wants to panic, but it was good. I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. I eventually got a loan, one of those government loans, and they said, well, if you make the grade your first semester, you can stay the second semester. And, well, I never missed a grade, and they were short. They were close, but I got a chance to graduate in the second 4-year class, which is wonderful, and a lot of good people.
Coach, anybody on campus or anybody here that helped you, how did you decide to go into the education coaching field?
Well, I think my high school coaches were the biggest influence. Mm-hmm. I noticed what they did and how they did it. One of them was Atlantic Christian man, one of them was East Carolina man. But that, to me, what they had to do to motivate, and that's attractive stuff. Plus, you get around ball. We were ball crazy coming up. Mm-hmm. You get around ball and speak ball and talk ball. And then the coach from one of our coaches took us to Atlantic Christian where he played. We went to several ball games then. Mm-hmm. That was great. Went to East Carolina a couple of times. Those kind influence you when you see those kids out there playing those games. I never was that good. I wasn't that bad, but I wasn't that good because I wasn't big enough. But it was a lot of fun. What are ways were you involved outside of the classroom during your undergraduate days here at Campbell, Coach? Well, I was somewhat the intramural director on Ron Hyatt.
Okay.
and I refereed 10,000 ball games, and basically I was Ron Hyatt's runner and gunner and whatever. But he was a good man. He did good things for me. I never heard of intramural before I got down here. He came in, but it was a set-up program, mm-hmm. and I sort of had the job of getting somebody to help referee and get somebody to help do this. So if we're playing baseball or softball, we had to line the field and whatever. They taught me that if you want to do this, you got to work, and it was good. It's good. I've done it the rest of my life, so it can't be too bad. I look back at, I was in the school system 40 years and didn't miss a beat. That's amazing. But it was fun.
Coach, tell us about your career path after graduating from Campbell. What was your first job?
I did my student teaching at Dunn High School under Whit Bradham. I did my student teaching, and when I got ready to finish student teaching, he said, we might have a job for you if you want to come. I said, I'll come right now if you want me to. So I ended up at Dunn High School, and it was great. Whit Bradham, Glenn Varney, those guys have been there a while. The football was very strong. And of course, I was a basketball person, and that wasn't very strong. But when I put together the first JV team, they started winning ball games, and that changed a lot of stuff. And it was a great place, great town. I think a lot of the people there now are still people I know, and that was good.
Tell us about how you moved on to Bertie and those early days of integration of North Carolina Public Schools, Coach.
Where's Bertie? That's the question I always go, where's Bertie? I don't know how I ended up there, but anyhow, I got in touch with them. They were looking for somebody to coach and teach and so forth. I got up with them, went down and interviewed and all, and the next thing I knew, they called me back and wanted if I wanted to teach and coach there. I said, well, I would certainly like to. So I ended up with a job of teaching, coaching JV basketball to start with, and JV baseball to start with, and JV football to start with. So it was a full job. But the town and all was so closely united, how those little towns used to be. And I think that made me a lot stronger, knowing I had backing. And We were very successful. I mean, we did real well. And, that's why I went back there some years later. But it's a great place, very rural. The worst thing about my years there afterwards is when integration came along. All of a sudden, they decided to integrate all the schools. Well, that is like the fourth largest county in the state of North Carolina. Very rural. And so when they did that, the integration piece really hit hard. And all of a sudden, all the schools closed, all the high schools were closed except Bertie. Well, the school at Mary Hill, which should be a high school, private school. Lewiston, private school. Orlando, private school. So all the private schools jumped up, and our outlook was a different world. But some of the best kids you ever meet. I mean, it wasn't a problem. It wasn't a riot. It wasn't anything. They worked hard. They played hard. They were good kids. Because of ruralness, I guess. I don't know. It was something.
Coach, how did y'all navigate those days? I know there was a lot of.
I wore out a lot of miles on carrying people home after practice and stuff like that. But we had kids live 25 miles away from school.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the bridge at Edenton and measure back to the school, you're going to get 30 miles. If you go to Hosky and measure back to school, you're about 26, 27 miles. You go to Williamson, you get about 19 or 20 miles from the school. Fourth biggest county in the state of North Carolina. And that's it's amazing. But if you want to do something, and we did, I mean, I had kids coming in to practice basketball at 5:30 in the morning. Slept the rest of the day, but they gave me. But it was, they would do, as long as you were honest and true to them, they're going to be honest and true back to you. Had some great kids. Great kids.
Coach, you mentioned that, in those days, the early days of integration, not having any problems, not having anything to overcome necessarily. Why do you think that was?
I think, I don't know. I think the truth is giving them the truth. And then if you prove that you give them the truth, and there's always some knuckleheads and all you got to deal with, but there's no riots, no mess like that. We turned to be 70% minority at the high school. But you missed the other element. But these kids did everything I asked them to do, or we asked them to do, and a lot of them graduated with honors and so forth. It was good. It was good. It was tough, but it was good.
Now, you coached the state championship team there. Tell us about that ride, and how did you mold a team into a state champion, Coach?
They were good players to start with. No, when we started the first year off, I could see we had some talent. We just kept working and working and working and working, and the JV teams got so good. They were very good, and that helped a lot also. But the biggest thing is they were good kids. They lived out in the country. They weren't in hanging around a building somewhere, smoking pot or whatever. When they got home, they got home. They didn't know where else to go. And I think when they came in to me knowing that I really cared and I was going to take care of them as long as they behaved themselves, I think it made a lot of difference, And our principle was a lot the same. I mean, we on the same tune. And the teachers, we never had a riot in the school. We never had anything like that. We just went along and tried to teach and educate. And I tell you what, we had some good athletes, and they turned out well.
You've shared with me especially about one very special athlete that you coached against. Tell us a little bit about you coming across playing against and coaching against Phil Ford during his days at Rocky Mount High School.
He wasn't bad. He's going to get his 30 any way you did it. No matter how you did it, he's still going to get his 30. So we did him best we could, and we made sure the other ones didn't do a whole lot. I don't know if we ever beat him, but we gave him some fits, and he was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. But we guarded him as hard as we could, and I had kids that tried to stay with him and all, but he was just so strong, and he couldn't jump by that high. He'd jump up and shoot that shot. But that was a real challenge, and we gave him games. We didn't beat him, but we gave him games. And the rest of that league was tough too. Elizabeth City had good ball players, but it's how you approach it. I ain't scared of nobody. We're gonna tackle everybody the same way. If we get beat, it's just got to work harder. And I tell you, watching him play was something else. I get to watching him myself, forget the coach. It was phenomenal.
Coach, I guess it was around 1980 you decided to return to Campbell as golf coach and assistant basketball coach. What were some of the reasons that you decided to move back into the college ranks?
High school about wore me out. I mean, you got to do so much for so many, and then the league we were in was Elizabeth City and all over the eastern part of North Carolina. That wore you out, and you don't have any real backing. You don't have that group's going to meet you at the drugstore Monday morning, and eat and what have you, because of the makeup of your clientele. I mean, you're sitting there looking at your 85% minority. You don't work with them, but it was I don't know, it was unusual. I don't know where I was unusual or not, but it was unusual. Mm-hmm. And the kids really did well. They enjoyed it because somebody cared, and I think that's the key to all of it. And the parents got in there and got involved. And when we played the state tournament championship game, the superintendent of schools, he got on there. He announced, he said, I'm closing all the schools down at 10 o'clock so you get to Chapel Hill and watch the basketball game. That's unusual, too. See? So the good brought on good. And it had a big private school sitting right there in the town of Windsor, a big private school down at Plymouth, big private school over in western part of the county. But those people just came to all our ball games, too. They were something to watch. These kids were good.
What was the adjustment like going from high school back to college and coaching golf in addition to assisting Danny Roberts with the basketball team, Coach?
Well, coaching the golf, I don't care what you coach. Number one, you got to be into it. Number two, you got to work harder than anybody else can work. And number three, when you fail, you change your tune and keep going again. And that's sort of the way I approached it.
After serving as assistant coach for a couple years with Danny, you were named head basketball coach at Campbell in 1983. Tell us about that process and when you graduated from Campbell nearly 20 years earlier, did you ever think that you were going to come back here and serve as head basketball coach?
I did not, but I was proud to do it. And I had the best teacher in the world on my bench, Press Maravich. And Press really, I would say Press really loved me. And he was going to make sure we did everything we could and not to fail. And without him, I don't know what I'd done, but he was so good about, now he didn't ever step in front of me. He's always behind me and telling me, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. And he was so good. And I think that was a key to us doing as well as we did in that time. Had some pretty decent players too, but Press really liked me. And I liked him a lot too, but he lived in that little old string of apartments down there, and he was amazing. And people don't realize how good he was.
Coach, how far back had your relationship with Coach Maravich gone? I'm figuring that, like many high school coaches, you probably came back here and worked the camp in the summertime. And, and when do you recall meeting Press for the first time? Because he was a fixture at camp.
When I came as a student. Mm-hmm. I got a picture somewhere in that board of somebody practicing all going during the camp. He's standing over there. Not only that, me and Pistol Pete went over to the Buies Creek gym every day at lunch and played basketball. Of course, he beat my brains out, but he made it do. I enjoyed that too. Now that was great, and he was a good guy. He was arrogant, but he was a good guy. If you got that, but yeah, we go over there and shoot 1-on-1s, and he'd wear me out, but I didn't care. I was enjoying it.
Press had coached at the highest levels of college basketball and Clemson, NC State, LSU, and where he coached his son. What did he bring to your staff and to the staff here at Campbell?
Well, to my staff, he was the number one man, and I gave him some responsibilities, and I didn't take him away from him. When he was playing for those coaching with, was it Wendell? Mm-hmm. He didn't seem to get much feedback. I mean, he would make a suggestion. It was kind of perplexing to him. And he would, but now when he spoke, I listened, and then I let him know that, hey, we need to substitute. You call it. If we need to do this, you call it. But let me know what you're doing. Don't keep me in the dark. But he was one of the best guys I ever met in my life. He really was.
One of your assistants was a lifelong basketball guy, Press Maravich. Another one was a guy just starting out on his coaching career that you'd also coached as an assistant, and one of the best players in the early Division I days in Ron Curtis. Tell us about Coach Curtis. I remember him as someone that the players all loved.
Well, he was like this table here. He was level all the way. There was no ups and no downs. He was level, and would work his tail off for you if he knew he was doing the right thing. And he never did the wrong thing much. And good recruiter for what we had to do. I mean, we couldn't go to New York every day and recruit, but around here, at least people knew us. And he was just so calm until he got on the floor and started playing with you. You know, he'd wear you out, but he was so calm. He was just a good person, a great person.
Coach, you these early days before the Big South Conference forms, Campbell competing in its Division I independent, and that bus and those airplanes took you all over the United States. What are some of the far-flung places you remember traveling to play basketball?
We were in Texas. We were in Michigan. We were in. We didn't get to California, but we were over across the Mississippi a bunch of times, and up in upper New York. I just think that was a mistake on somebody's part, trying to get a real big schedule. You got to have something in there you can handle sometimes. You got to win a game every once in a while. But it was good. Western Carolina and High Point and all those guys, when you played them, it was somewhat on the same level. Somewhat. We had a pretty decent little ball club, but when you step in that next level, and that's another world.
You have any road trip stories to share, Coach, or anything that sticks out in your memory?
Well, we had a stupid bus driver. I don't remember his name, but we were coming home from Richmond one night, and it was a little town just across the border, and the bus broke down, and that was the beatingest thing you ever seen in your life. And he couldn't drive to start with, but things like that you remember, because we sit there in that little town for about 4 hours waiting for somebody to come help us out. But things like that, and it to me that was the education and all of it for them and me too. I enjoyed going to Greensboro, and I enjoyed going to Western Carolina and all, but I didn't enjoy getting my tail beat, but I enjoyed going. And I didn't go up there and tie them down, put them in the room, and told them to stay there. We would actually get out and walk the street a little bit, and people would see us. They enjoyed that. And I don't know. I just I come from nothing, and it made a lot of difference. You saw a big building.
Absolutely, Coach. What was one of your recruiting pitches to get ask a player to take a leap of faith on a team that's a Division I independent in a small market, as they like to say now?
Well, first of all, I found out who around here would be a pretty good prospect, and every once in a while you may sneak up on one. And we had some pretty good North Carolina kids. I didn't make any promises. I talked to them just like, hey, here's the way it is, and I'm telling you, we got to have some help. If you want to help us, fine. We'd love to have you. But don't keep me hanging now, because I don't have time for that. And I had some good kids come in. Larry Kennedy came in that time, and oh gosh, I read
Andre McGee from Wallace Rose Hill area.
Yes, sir. Some good people.
Coach, since 2008, Campbell fans have enjoyed the comfort and luxury of a home court like Gore Arena over here at the Pope Convocation Center. In your time, Campbell played, air quotes, home games at the Raleigh Civic Center, the Cumberland County Memorial Arena in Fayetteville. What were the challenges, really, logistically and otherwise, of having to get on the bus?
The biggest thing I saw was you didn't get a chance to practice in those places like you need to practice. You got to have a feeling for it, and we didn't get to practice them very seldom ever got to practice in Fayetteville, and very seldom we got to practice in Raleigh once in a while. But it's like another road trip. That's pretty much what it's like, another road trip. You got to get all your mess together, get your stuff to go. But I tell you what, now I had good help. Jerry Milton out here, he was my gopher, and his aunt was my secretary, Lotus Golden, and he made sure everything got there, made sure she got there, and so forth. So that's a load off your mind right there. And had a good bus driver, and everything went fairly well, except lost a lot of ball games.
Coach, you run down the list of some of the teams you played against. NC State coming off a national championship. Clemson with a bunch of NBA players on that team. Houston 1 year removed from the Phi Slamma Jamma. SMU. Navy had this young guy named David Robinson who turned out to be a pretty good player. How did you prepare your players to compete in games like that?
I did not spend a lot of time on one kid. I spent a lot of time on the other four, and we got it. I think the kids realize that it's got to be five of us playing all of them, and one kid's not going to beat us if we can help it. And if he does, he may score 40 points, but it's just one of those things. We just work so hard on defense. First of all, they got to get the ball down the floor. Mm-hmm. And if you aggravate that enough, and they get down, they got 6 seconds, then you've just rushed the clock. It's a game. It is a game, but yeah, we had some pretty good kids. And defense was, I don't know what our average was, but we aggravated some people when we played them.
Coach, while you're on the Campbell staff, you served as director of the Campbell Basketball School, which was still bringing in thousands of young people to campus in the 1980s. The list of basketball coaching and playing legends to work that camp is incredible. You've spoken about Press and Pete. What are some of the other ones that you remember coming through the doors? And
what's the boy Guilford College so long? He was a good one. High Point.
Jerry Steele.
Jerry Steele. He was so good. I think the more you get out of the closer colleges, the better off you get. Now you may have to bring in a star or two from somewhere. And if they're friendly enough and they know what you're talking about, they just soon come and look at the talent here. Maybe a talented kid playing. I don't know, but that was a tough deal. But we managed. It's East Carolina didn't want to have anything to do with it. They didn't have any coaches over here. Some of the very local schools. But you go down, let's say to Eastern North Carolina, or you go down to South Carolina and places like that, people, they still know who you are, and it makes a difference.
You go down the list, everyone mentions Coach Wooden, John Wooden from UCLA and Press, but then you start looking at the ACC coaches who gave their time to come here. Carl Tacey was at Wake Forest for years. Terry Holland for Virginia. Lefty Drizel from Maryland came through here, and a lot of them brought their players with them, like John Lucas, All-American and at Maryland, and Ralph Sampson from Virginia. How was it, being part of something that was so big here in this little community? Did y'all think about that at the time, or were you just trying to get to Friday?
I didn't think about it because everybody was so good to me. They knew I was the first shot, and they were good. It's like a fraternity, so to speak, and that was a lot of fun.
Coach, the basketball floor at Clayton High School bears your name. What does having that honor mean to you?
I just think it's not anything I did. I guess it's things I didn't do. But that was I had a lot of say-so in what took place. The slide out stage underneath the front. You ever seen that? The slide out stage, that was really a good piece. Because it didn't have anywhere to meet with it. But it was such a great place. I don't know what it looks like now, but it was a great building at that time. Very, very good. And the people liked it. They latched on to it. But you always got them downers running their mouth, but I don't pay attention to them.
Wouldn't we all be a little bit better off if we didn't pay attention to those?
Well,
kind
my
of
philosophy:
folks?
Get good or get gone. That's all I need.
Coach, many people around here know that you're an outstanding golfer. Tell us about, when did you start playing?
I started playing probably when I was as far as playing, I didn't start playing until I got to college. And I haven't played none now in about 3 months. My back won't let me. I got a bad back and can't play. But yeah, I just worked so hard at it. I ain't gonna let nothing beat me. I worked so hard at it. I go out there and hit 100 balls for practice every day. And when you get a chance to coach golf, you see good golfers all along there, and that helps too. And you're all around it all your time. So I did it as a fun thing, and it turned out to be pretty good.
What do you like most about the game, Coach, of golf?
It's me against that ground. It ain't me against that person. It's me against that ground. Although I like to beat them people, but it's all about, can I make it to that green in 2 and make a putt maybe, It's amazing.
Your son, Bill, was and still is an outstanding golfer. How did he become interested in the game?
Everywhere I went, he was there. Every day we go after school, he'd hit it. We was a little tight. We lived in Smithfield. He'd come over and I had a net and all. Said, "Let's hit some balls, Papa." Okay, let's go. How many you gonna hit? All of them. Okay. But he is still a fine golfer. But now the golfer in the family is Brett. I'll tell you what, he can play.
Coach, you've got you have an interesting perspective, being a coach and a parent of an athlete and a grandparent of an athlete, college athletes. How did you separate those two, or when Bill was playing at University of North Carolina, or was there emotionally or anything like that?
I got him there, so I kind of backed off, let the rest of them take his place. But Bill's so smart. He knew what to do. He's extremely smart. And Brett, he's okay, but he's extremely talented. He has got talent up yin yang. But now he's bought a house, got married, bought a house, and he's still trying to play golf.
Well, and Brett's story is so interesting as well. Offered baseball scholarship, and then he has arm problems. Decides to walk on here at Campbell and earns a scholarship and represents the university in 3 NCAA regionals. I mean, can you ever dream that something like that would happen in this day and age?
That's an indication of how good he was. That tells the whole story right there. He could do anything now. He was a heck of a basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
And he could play anything, but I don't see him much anymore since he got married and bought that house, but that's okay.
Well, he's got adult things to do now, right? Right.
He passes right by my house every day, so no problem. but yeah, he's a good kid. He's a good kid.
We mentioned you have a unique perspective as a parent of a student athlete, grandparent of a student athlete, a veteran of coaching on the highest level in college athletics. What kind of advice would you give parents of kids from the recreational level to the kids who are going to move on and aspire to play at the highest level?
I think as a parent, number one is make sure they're in the right place. Make sure if they're going to be baseball players, make sure they're in the right area to play good baseball. You don't want to put them out there where they're going to lose every single game for the next 10 years. I think selection, if you're going to do that, is where you live and try to find out what's the best for them and what they want to do. Brett played every sport there was, and he was pretty good at everything. And the baseball was his thing. And I think you got to put them in the right place. Then you got to spend a lot of time with them. You can't just walk off and say, "You go hit the ball." And you got to spend time with them, and that's a key too. He used to stay with me all the time. Every weekend, Saturday morning, he's there, and he's ready to go. And it's like I was telling you about hitting golf balls. Papa, let's go hit some golf balls. Okay. How many you want to hit? All of them. Okay. But he's a good kid.
Coach, what are some of your favorite golf tips you've learned along the way? You got a couple, 3 good ones you like to share?
Well, the best thing is don't get mad with it. That don't do any good. I don't get mad very often. I've played a lot of golf, and I can't play right now because of my back. I haven't played none in 3 or 4 months. But I can go out and chip and put. It's being out there. Now, I got a dog that loves to chase squirrels, and you get out there with her, she's chasing squirrels, you're having a good time, and it's just, now it's more relaxation than it is golf, but the competitiveness of it. If you're playing in the level you should be playing in, you can compete. And if I jumped over and started playing in PGA boys, I wouldn't be able to compete. But the next level down, I probably could compete. I mean, you carry 1 or 2 handicap, you're a pretty decent player.
Absolutely.
So I enjoyed it. I miss it. I go out right now this afternoon hitting 50 balls, and my back hurts so bad I can't hardly move. But I still do it.
Coach, after you retired from teaching, what are some of the reasons that brought you back to Buies Creek, you and Linda?
Great place to live. Great place to live. That's the college atmosphere is here, but it's not so far out there that it overwhelms you. But it's here. The things are going on here. If you want to get involved, fine, you can. If you want to go see a play, you can. But then, too, you're 30 minutes from Raleigh. You're 30 minutes from Smithfield. You're 15, 20 minutes from Dunn. So there's so much here to be able to get to. And you jump on 95, and I can be at where I used to live, home, an hour. So it's such a great location to be in. And then the people. They're so good. They're so good.
Well, for a number of years, you were helping out Chris Haymeyer as a color analyst for the Campbell Basketball team here a few years ago. The game has changed so much in the last 30 years, especially the three-point line. What had that been available during your coaching days? How would that have changed your philosophy?
I had some kids that could shoot it, I'll tell you that. If they'd have fired one up back then, I'd took them out of the game right then. Well, you don't shoot that ball way out there and not making it. No, that game has changed so much too. But I like to play defense in basketball. I take care of a lot of problems. And if I was coaching right now, the first thing to work on would be defense. And that was a lot of fun.
Coach, I know you as someone who likes to stay busy. Obviously you like to go chip and putt. What are some things you like to do and spend your time doing these days?
Spend all morning in the yard. And my dog, she loves anywhere I am. That's where she's going to be. And she loves to ride in that golf cart. She loves to run behind it. So we stay busy piddling.
Well, if you've seen Coach Smith around the area, you do see Josie, his terrier. Coach, I want you to give us some of your best dog training tips, because that dog will listen to you. How do you get a dog to listen to you?
Get a smart dog. A lot of times she tells me what she's going to do. But she's like a woman. But she's one of the best I've ever had, and I've had some good dogs. But she is one of the best, one of the sweetest. She's mad now because I didn't let her come down here. She pouts, but she, I'll go to bed, and the first thing you know, here she comes. She sleeps with me, and it's just, it's like having a real close friend. That's the one person I can talk to, not going to lip back. She got in the truck yesterday and laid in the front seat and slept all day. So when I parked the truck this morning, I left the door open, she's climbed up in there, slept most mornings. She's got more sense than half the folks I know. I can tell you that right now. Everybody needs a dog. If you're not a dog person, you need to learn how to be one, because they will release a lot of your pressures. It is true. She loves me to death, and I love her to death. And something happened to her, good gracious.
Coach, I know from personal experience that you're very humble by nature. But what are some of your career or other accomplishments that make you proud or give you the most satisfaction?
I don't know. I just think I've been in a bunch of schools, and I've never had a problem in the schools. It's all about people, what you do with people, how you treat people. You don't have to raise a lot of canes to have people. And I'm not about going up and loving people, but I'm talking about a new guy comes in, he gets shy, stand over and go over and talk to him. First thing you know, you have him out the corner. Then you have him going down the hall for you. And you got to interact loyally to them and truthfully.
Finally, Coach, can you put into words how Campbell and this Buies Creek community have impacted your life?
I probably wouldn't be here. I mean, what would I be doing? Driving a truck for somebody or something like that? The basketball camp, if I had never come to basketball camp and seen this place, I don't know that I'd have a college education.
I'm Stan Cole, and our guest today on Tales from the Creek has been Coach Jerry Smith. Thank you, Coach, for sharing your Tales from the Creek.
You certainly will.